Hi everybody. A while back I put up a video of a little Hot Wheels that I put lights in. Little Hot Wheels I made for my son. And it seems people are interested in how to do it. So, by popular demand, here's how you do it. Obviously you need to buy yourself a Hot Wheels. Preferably an emergency vehicle. The bigger it is, the more room you're going to have to do stuff with. So, here's there we go. Next thing you need is one of these things. You get this at the dollar store, a discount store, whatever it is you call it in your area. Basically it's a toy, usually about $1, and it has multiple LED functions. Okay, so pull out the batteries, put them aside, you're obviously going to need them. Now the rest of this needs to be pulled apart. Just run a knife through it, it'll come right apart. See? That was pretty easy. There you go. So you got your lights. This is your processor. This is what takes care of all the flashing and the sequences and so on and so forth. To keep it simple and without the need to buy anything else, I'm going to use the LEDs that are already on here for this project. So it's going to be four lights. So I'm going to put 2 in the front and 2 on top here. Because the original one I had 4 on top, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. But to keep this simple, I'm going to just use 4 of them, and you can add more if you'd like. Just a little note, red, for some reason, I haven't even looked it up yet, but for some reason putting red LEDs with blue or other color LEDs doesn't work. So if you're going to put red on the same channel as another red, otherwise it just won't work. So take a pair of scissors, a decent pair of scissors, and for now cut it just below channel 3 LED. It might go flying like that, doesn't matter. And the same thing over here, cut it just above the channel 2 LED. So you're left with this. Okay, now that this is cut, let's go to the car. You need to pop the rivets and drill them out. Get yourself a drill bit that's just a bit bigger than the rivet itself, or maybe about the same size. Make sure your drill bit cuts properly. Hold it nice and tight and be very careful. There we go. Got one side off. The other side should come off fairly easily. So let's see. So you can see here that we're going to have to cut a little bit more of this piece to get it inside where the glass is, in here, and the batteries as well. So the batteries are going to sit like that inside. They're going to be taped up with wires on either side, and that's going to fit on this side here. So in here we basically have to cut out the back seats so that it'll fit. For the wires, I wouldn't go any bigger than maybe 26 gauge. What I'm using right now is, I had an old IDE connector that was no good. Basically just chop off the wires with a pair of scissors. Take your knife, stick it into one of the holes, and just pull on the wire. Next one over. There we go. These LEDs don't seem to be marked as far as which side is which. Before you remove them from the board, you'll notice, like I mentioned before, it says plus here. So what we'll do is, on this side, helps if my marker would work, we'll write on it, or not write on it, but mark the positive side. Mark the leg and the LED itself, because with manipulation you might have a problem where the marking on the LED will come off with your fingers. We're gonna have to scrape off some of the green stuff here in order to solder. You're gonna need a very fine tipped soldering iron. There's nothing on that channel, I don't need to do that. This one's already uncovered. 1, 5, and negative is already uncovered. Just need to scratch off for positive. You have to mark it again because so you got the blob in the middle. You got switch, ground, 2, plus, and 1. On the other side, starting from the edge, we have plus, 3, this one does nothing, and then 4. So if we look at this, we can connect the battery here. The switch goes from here to negative, And then you can use this plus to go to all the LEDs, and then each individual output to each LED in particular. Now if you wanted to, you can plug up 2 LEDs on each output. Just like I said before, you can't put a red and another color together. The other colors work fine together, but the red and another color does not seem to work. Now I haven't figured out why, it's just the way it is. So now that we've got that all set up, we can go ahead and put some Okay, now that we've got that done, what you want to do is pre-tin the ends of the wires. Okay, let's it's too much, a little bit too much solder there. Okay. Now, if you have a little bit too much wire, chop some of it off, making your life a bit easier. Now, if you hear me breathing in the camera, it's because my face is right next to it. Okay, I really don't like this big blob of solder. So I'm going to take some of this off. Missed. Alright. You really don't need a lot of solder. There we go. Especially when things are really close together. A bit easier when there's less. Now if it helps you, you can put different colored wires on. You can put black for your ground or negative, or black for negative, red for positive, white for your LEDs. I'll pick another color for your switch if you like. But once you have the drawing done, you don't really need the extra colors. You just have to pay attention to where you're putting everything. Okay, that's one side. 2 more wires. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Shorten this one a bit. Alright. I'll put that aside. Take your soldering iron, heat up both pads at the same time. There's one. There's 2. Now, I don't really care about the color per se for this project. I'm just making them work so you guys can see. And I'm using the LEDs that came with the toys. Now for switches, I take things apart and I keep all kinds of stuff. So I have all kinds of switches available to me. But there's a few different ways you can go about it. I'm probably going to use this one here. What I did with the old one is I had the same switch as this, and I glued it to the base here, or to the window, and basically you just flicked it on the side here, click click, and that was that. So I think I'm going to use this one here, so I'm going to take it off. Now, since we won't need the legs, mounted to a board, we can fold them in, and it's going to be glued like this. I chose to put a red wire for the positive, although I didn't do that on this side for the lights. It doesn't really matter, like I said before. The wiring is your choice, as long as you understand where they go. So let's connect the switch. Which was, if we look at our drawing, is this one here, and this one here. But this one also has to go to ground. So what we'll do is we'll put 2 wires together like so. The switch is wired up. I decided to add another wire for positive on this side in order to supply the LEDs on the other side, on each side of the board, that is. So let me put these two together. So I got the wires soldered on to the piece that I decided to use after all for the batteries. It's going to be a lot easier to hold them into place. Now I'm going to wire up the lights. You remember what I said before about the polarity? Well, that's what we're going to do now. Shorten the wires. And remember, I marked the positive side with the marker. It's always a good idea to pre-tin items before you use them, because it just makes attaching things and soldering things together that much easier. Alright, so the one on the right will be, or is, my positive. So I can put this on here. Let me pre-tin this. Now we need to make a little jumper that will go with the other positive here. Later on in the video you'll see a schematic, or actually what I'll do is the schematic, I will put it on my Facebook page, and, or should I say I will put the schematic on my Facebook group, and you can come and see it there. It'll probably be easier than looking at a picture on a YouTube video. It'll also make it easier for you to keep up with what's happening as far as the LED wheel goes, because I post future projects there and things I'm going to be doing. So, easier way to keep you posted of upcoming the LED wheel events or videos being made. In the last one I made, I did all the wiring after I glued everything into the vehicle, and it wasn't such a good idea. It was a real pain in the butt. So you guys are getting a better setup than the original one had. Just keep paying attention to where you're putting what contact where. Make sure you're putting positive on positives and negatives where the negatives go. Okay, this is number 3. Okay, one last test. All the LEDs are soldered on. Let's see. At the same time, we'll tape the batteries into place. Oh, this isn't easy. Okay, well, they all work. That means they're all on properly. So once you got the batteries into the bracket, tape them up, make sure they don't come off, test it again, make sure everything works. Right. Ideally it would have been better to have some heat shrink on top of this, but I don't have the right size right now, so this will have to do. Now we need to drill the holes where the lights are going to go. So we need the right size drill bit. So I'm going to measure this with my caliper. So now we need to drill a hole here, a hole there, and 2 holes up top. Up top should be fairly easy. You just place your drill bit at each extremity of the lights. This, however, you need to punch a hole of some sort or marking. Okay, so I got this. I actually use a leather punch, but it does good for this. Find the center point of your light as best you can. And mark it. I don't know, guys, you can see that. What I like to do is use a smaller drill bit to start things off. Start slowly. Okay, I know I'm going in a bit crooked right now. I'm trying to adjust the position of the hole. Okay, so you end up drilling a hole on a bit of an angle, but once you're done with it, you have to twist so that it ends up straight, parallel with the car, if you will. The real trick is holding the car so that you don't squish the crap out of it. And then cleaning up afterwards. Front is done. Now I gotta do is make these ones a bit bigger. Now with the plastic, once you've drilled, you gotta clean it up a bit. Alright, so now it's time to put stuff in the car. So that goes here. Okay, so that's gonna go there. Take some super glue. Wait for it to take. Okay, once it's taken, add some more to the other areas. Once you figure out where your switch is going to go, put some glue down. Push the switch in place, just hold it there. Alright, so now you can see the switch is inside here. What you can do is maybe add a little bit here what you want to do is you want to get the wires to line up all in the center here and then put them in on the other side. Now I know for sure we're going to have to do some trimming for the wires for the battery again. And this truly, really is a better design than my first one. Because in my first one I pretty much took out the interior completely. There you go, stick them out as far as you want them. That looks pretty good to me. Again, a little bit of glue. Now hopefully you get everything together without breaking any wires, because after that it's a real pain to get them to work again. Okay, so we got red and blue on top. I see my switch didn't hold before. I have to re-glue it on again. I always try to get the wires on nice and neatly tucked in. So once you got all the wiring tidied up, pass the wires through the floor. Now you're going to have to bend the front ones at a right angle, like this here. Do not bend them repeatedly because they will break. Now this is a bit of a tricky part. Just getting them in their holes. So put it in the hole and then take your wire and pass it out around the front. We'll adjust it after. See, now it's sticking out a bit too far, but we'll adjust that after. Alright, now we have them both in the front. Again, let's make sure they work. So now what you want to do is basically push it back in till it's almost flush, and then take some glue and dab it on the inside. Now I maybe made my holes a little bit too far out here, but you can correct that. You can make yours a bit farther in. Alright, so now that that's done, put this back on before we seal it up. We'll make sure the wheels are rolling properly. And what you do is you push in so that it seats properly, and then you add some glue. Now this you have to hold it for a bit, or if you have clamps, you don't have to hold anything. So you let that dry, but essentially it's done.